Hello and welcome to the English Without Limit community. My name is Julia, and today I want to speak directly to you, the person who sometimes feels nervous or unsure when it comes to speaking English. Maybe you have tried to learn before, maybe you have started and stopped, or maybe you are just beginning your journey. No matter where you are right now, I want you to know you are not alone. I have been exactly where you are. I know what it feels like to want to speak English naturally, to want to join conversations, to understand movies, podcasts, or even just simple messages from friends, but to feel that something is holding you back. Maybe it is fear of making mistakes. Maybe it is the feeling that you will never sound natural. Or maybe it is just the frustration of not knowing where to start. Let me tell you something important. I understand you. I have felt that same frustration, that same doubt. I remember the first time I tried to speak English with someone from another country. My heart was beating fast, my hands were sweating, and I was so worried about making mistakes that I could barely say a word. I thought, how will I ever speak English like a real person? How will I ever feel comfortable? But over time, I learned something that changed everything for me. I learned that you do not need to be perfect. You do not need to know every word or every rule. You do not need to sound like a native speaker. What you need is to practice a little bit every day and to focus on being clear, not perfect. That is why I am so excited to talk to you today. I want to share with you a simple idea that can make a huge difference in your English journey. You do not need to spend hours every day studying grammar books or memorizing long lists of vocabulary. You do not need to feel stressed or overwhelmed. All you need is 15 minutes a day. Just 15 minutes. That is less time than it takes to watch an episode of your favorite show. Less time than it takes to cook dinner, or even to scroll through your phone. If you can give yourself just 15 minutes a day, you can start to speak English more naturally, more confidently, and with more joy. I know you might be thinking, can 15 minutes really make a difference? I used to ask myself the same question, but let me tell you it absolutely can. The secret is not in the amount of time you spend, but in the way you use that time. If you use those 15 minutes to practice the right habits, to focus on speaking and listening, to make English a part of your daily life, you will see real progress. You will start to understand more, to remember more, and most importantly, to feel more comfortable using English in real situations. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You wake up in the morning, and you listen to a short podcast in English while you make your coffee. You repeat a few simple phrases out loud just to warm up your voice. Later, you send a quick voice message to a friend, telling them about your day in English. You do not worry about making mistakes. You do not feel nervous. You just speak naturally, like it is a normal part of your life, and it is possible for you. It is not a dream. It is not something only for other people. It is something you can achieve starting today, with just 15 minutes a day. I know that life can be busy. Maybe you have work, school, family, or other responsibilities. Maybe you feel like you do not have time to add something new to your routine. But I want to encourage you to think about those small moments in your day. Maybe it is while you are walking to the bus stop, or waiting in line at the store, or cooking dinner. Those moments can become your English practice time. You do not need a special place or a special time. You just need to make English a small, natural part of your day. And I want you to know, you do not have to do this alone. Here in the English Without Limit community, we are all learning together. We all have the same goal, to speak English more naturally, to feel more confident, and to enjoy the process. I am here to support you, to share my own experiences, and to give you practical tips that really work. I want you to feel like you are part of a community, a group of people from all over the world who understand what you are going through, who want to see you succeed, and who are cheering you on every step of the way. So, if you are ready to take the next step, if you are ready to make English a natural part of your life, I invite you to stay with me for this episode. I am going to share with you 7 simple habits that you can start using today. These are habits that I have used myself and that have helped many other learners just like you. They are easy to follow. They do not require any special materials, and you can do them anywhere, anytime. All you need is a little bit of time, a little bit of motivation, and the belief that you can do it. Before we get started, I want to ask you for a small favor. If you find this episode helpful, if you feel more motivated or more confident after listening, please take a moment to like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and share it with a friend who is also learning English. When you do that, you help us reach more people, and you become part of a community that supports and encourages each other. Your support means a lot to me and to everyone in the English Without Limit community. Remember, you do not have to be perfect. You do not have to know everything. You just have to start. You just have to take one small step every day. And I promise you, if you do that, you will see progress. You will feel more confident. You will start to enjoy speaking English not just as a subject to study, but as a real living language that connects you to people all over the world. So, are you ready? Let's get started together. Your journey to speaking English naturally begins right now, and I am here with you every step of the way. When I first started learning English, I thought I needed to spend hours every day with my head in a book, memorizing long lists of words, or trying to understand complicated grammar rules. I believed that only people who had a lot of free time or a special talent for languages could really become fluent. But over time, I discovered something that completely changed my approach, and I want to share it with you today. The real secret to improving your English is not about how many hours you study in one day, but about the small, simple habits you build into your daily life. It is about what you do every day, not just once in a while. These small habits, repeated day after day, are what truly make the difference. Let me tell you about Sophia. She lives in Madrid, and like many people, she has a busy life. She works full-time, she has family and friends, and she does not have hours to spend on English every day. At first, she felt frustrated. She wanted to improve, but she did not know how to fit English into her routine. Then she decided to try something different. Instead of trying to do everything at once, she chose one small habit, listening to English for 15 minutes every day on her way to work. She did not worry about understanding every word. She just listened every day while she was on the train. After a few weeks, she noticed something amazing. She could understand more and more. Words and phrases started to sound familiar. She felt more comfortable and her confidence grew, all because of one small habit. This is the power of daily habits. When you do something every day, even if it is just for a short time, your brain starts to get used to it. English becomes a normal part of your life, not something special or difficult. You do not need to make a big effort or find extra time. You just add a little bit of English to your daily routine, and over time, you will see real progress. It is like planting a seed. At first, you do not see much change, but if you water it every day, it starts to grow. The same is true for your English. Every day you practice, you are helping your skills grow, even if you do not notice it right away. I know that sometimes it can feel like you are not making progress. Maybe you listen to something in English, and you do not understand much. Maybe you try to speak and you make mistakes. That is completely normal. The important thing is not to be perfect, but to be consistent. If you keep going, if you keep practicing a little bit every day, you will get better. Your brain needs time to get used to new sounds, new words, and new ways of thinking. The more often you practice, the easier it becomes. Think about other things you have learned in your life. Maybe you learned to ride a bike, to cook, or to play a musical instrument. You did not become an expert in one day. You practiced a little bit at a time, and you got better. Learning English is the same. It is not about one big effort, but about many small steps. Each time you listen, speak, read, or write in English, you are taking another step forward. One of the best things about small daily habits is that they are easy to fit into your life. You do not need to change your whole schedule or give up other things you enjoy. You can listen to English while you are getting ready in the morning, while you are cooking, or while you are walking to the store. You can read a short article or watch a short video during your lunch break. You can repeat a few phrases out loud before you go to bed. These small moments add up. Over time, they make a big difference. I remember when I started to make English a part of my daily life. At first it felt strange. I was not sure if it would really help, but after a few weeks, I started to notice changes. I could understand more when I listened to music or watched movies. I felt more comfortable speaking, even if I made mistakes. I started to think in English just a little bit during my day. It was not about being perfect. It was about making English a normal part of my life. I want you to know that you can do this too. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to do everything at once. Just choose one small habit and start today. Maybe you will listen to English for 10 or 15 minutes every day. Maybe you will read a short story or repeat some phrases out loud. Whatever you choose, the important thing is to do it every day. Make it a part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or having breakfast. If you miss a day, do not worry. Just start again the next day. The goal is not to be perfect, but to keep going. Every day you practice, you are getting better. Every day you use English, you are building your skills. Over time, you will see that English becomes easier, more natural, and more fun. So, remember Sophia from Madrid. She did not have hours to study. She just listened to English for 15 minutes every day on her way to work. That small habit changed everything for her. It can change everything for you too. The power is in the small daily habits. They are simple, they are easy, and they really work. You do not need to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect method. You just need to start today with one small habit, and I promise you will see the difference. One of the most powerful things you can do to improve your English is to listen to it every single day, even if it is just for a few minutes. I know that sometimes it can feel overwhelming, especially if you do not understand everything you hear. Maybe you listen to a podcast, a song, or a video, and you feel lost because the words seem too fast, or the accent is different from what you are used to. I want you to know that this feeling is completely normal. It happens to everyone, even people who have been learning English for a long time. The important thing is not to let this feeling stop you. The real secret is to keep listening every day, and to let your brain get used to the sounds and rhythms of English. Let me tell you about Marco, who lives in Rome. Marco has a busy life, just like many of us. He works, he has family, and he does not have a lot of extra time to sit down and study English for hours. But Marco found a simple way to make English a part of his daily routine. Every morning, while he prepares his breakfast, he listens to a podcast in English. Sometimes it is about travel, sometimes about food, sometimes just a story. At first, Marco did not understand much. The voices seemed too fast, and there were many words he did not know. But he did not let that stop him. He kept listening every day while he made his coffee and toast. After a few weeks, Marco noticed something interesting. He started to recognize some words and phrases. He could catch the main idea of what people were talking about, even if he did not understand every single word. Some days he would hear a new word and remember it. The next time he heard that word, it sounded familiar. Slowly, listening to English became easier and more enjoyable. Marco realized that he did not need to understand everything. He just needed to listen, to let his brain get used to the language, and to enjoy the process. This is the key. You do not have to understand every word. You do not have to translate everything in your head. When you listen to English every day, you are training your brain to recognize the sounds, the patterns, and the flow of the language. Your brain is amazing. It learns by hearing, by repeating, and by getting used to new things. The more you listen, the more your brain learns, even if you do not notice it right away. I remember when I first started listening to English every day. At first, it was difficult. I felt frustrated because I wanted to understand everything, but I could not. I thought maybe I was not good enough, or maybe English was just too hard for me. But I kept going. I listened to music, podcasts, short videos, sometimes while I was walking, sometimes while I was cooking, sometimes just before bed. Little by little, I started to notice changes. I could understand more. I could follow conversations. I started to enjoy listening even if I did not catch every detail. One thing that helped me was to choose topics that I liked. If you listen to something that interests you, it is much easier to stay motivated. Maybe you like sports, cooking, travel, or stories about people from different countries. There are so many podcasts, videos, and songs in English about every topic you can imagine. Find something that makes you curious or happy and listen to it every day, even if it is just for 5 or 10 minutes. Another thing that helped me was to let go of the need to be perfect. I used to think that I had to understand everything, or that I had to remember every new word. But that is not how language learning works. It is okay if you do not understand everything. It is okay if you forget some words. The important thing is to keep listening, to keep exposing yourself to the language, and to trust that your brain is learning even when you do not realize it. Sometimes I would listen to the same podcast or song several times. The first time I might only understand a few words. The second time, I would catch a few more. By the third or fourth time, I could follow the main idea. Repetition is your friend. Do not be afraid to listen to the same thing more than once. Each time, you will notice something new. I also learned that it is helpful to listen to different voices and accents. English is spoken all over the world, and there are many different ways to say the same thing. When you listen to different speakers, you train your ear to understand English in many forms. This will help you feel more comfortable in real conversations, because you will be used to hearing English in different ways. If you are just starting, you can choose short and simple materials. There are many podcasts and videos made for English learners, with clear and slow speech. As you get more comfortable, you can try listening to more natural conversations, news, or even movies. The important thing is to make listening a daily habit, just like Marco does in Rome. It does not matter if you only have a few minutes. What matters is that you listen every day. You might be surprised at how much you can learn just by listening. You will start to pick up new words, new expressions, and new ways of saying things. You will get used to the rhythm and melody of English. You will start to think in English, even if just a little bit. And most importantly, you will feel more confident when you speak because your brain is already used to hearing and understanding the language. So, do not worry about understanding everything. Do not worry about being perfect. Just listen every day, even if it is only for a short time. Make English a part of your daily life, and you will see real progress. Remember Marco, making his breakfast in Rome, listening to English, and learning a little more each day? You can do the same. Your brain will thank you, and your English will grow stronger, one day at a time. One of the most effective ways to build your confidence in English is to speak out loud, even if you are alone. I know that for many people, the idea of speaking English can feel scary. Maybe you worry about your accent, or about making mistakes, or about not sounding natural. I have felt all of those things myself, but I want to share something that has helped me and many other learners. Repeating simple phrases out loud every day is a powerful way to make English feel more comfortable and natural. Let me tell you about Anna, who lives in Paris. Anna loves watching TV series and listening to music in English. At first, she just listened quietly, trying to understand the words and the meaning. But then she decided to try something different. Whenever she heard a short, simple phrase that she liked, she would pause the show or the song and repeat the phrase out loud. Sometimes, she would say it 2 or 3 times, trying to match the rhythm and the sound of the original speaker. She did not worry about being perfect. She did not try to sound exactly like the actors or singers. She just focused on saying the words clearly and confidently. Over time, Anna noticed that her confidence grew. She started to remember the phrases more easily. When she spoke English with friends or in class, the words came out more naturally. She was not afraid to speak, because she had already practiced so many times on her own. This simple habit of repeating phrases out loud made a big difference for her, and it can do the same for you. When you speak out loud, you are training your mouth, your tongue, and your brain to work together. You are building the muscle memory that you need to speak English smoothly. It is like learning to play a musical instrument. At first, your fingers might feel awkward, but with practice, the movements become automatic. The same thing happens with speaking. The more you say the words, the easier it becomes. You do not need to use complicated sentences or difficult vocabulary. In fact, it is better to start with short, simple phrases. These are the kinds of phrases that people use every day in real conversations. For example, you might repeat phrases like, "How are you? I would like a coffee, please." Or, "What time is it?" These are useful, natural phrases that you can use in many situations. The goal is not to memorize long speeches, but to get comfortable with the kinds of sentences you will actually use. I remember when I started this habit myself. I would watch a short video or listen to a song, and whenever I heard a phrase that sounded useful or interesting, I would pause and say it out loud. Sometimes I felt a little silly, especially if someone else was in the room, but I reminded myself that this was my practice, and that every time I spoke, I was getting better. Over time, I started to notice that I could say the phrases more easily, and that I felt less nervous when I had to speak English with other people. One thing that helped me was to focus on the sound and the rhythm of the phrases. English has its own music, its own way of rising and falling, and its own patterns of stress. When you repeat phrases out loud, try to listen to how the original speaker says them. Do they speak quickly or slowly? Do they put extra stress on certain words? Try to copy the sound, not just the words. This will help you sound more natural, and it will also help you understand spoken English more easily. Another tip is to use your phone or a recording device. Sometimes I would record myself saying a phrase, and then listen to the recording. At first, it was strange to hear my own voice, but it helped me notice things I could improve. Maybe I was saying a word too softly, or maybe I was missing a sound. By listening to myself, I could make small changes and get better each time. You do not need to spend a lot of time on this habit. Even 5 or 10 minutes a day can make a big difference. The key is to do it regularly. Make it a part of your daily routine. Maybe you repeat phrases while you are getting ready in the morning, or while you are walking to work, or while you are cooking dinner. The more often you practice, the more natural it will feel. Do not worry about making mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes when they are learning a new language. The important thing is to keep going, to keep speaking, and to keep practicing. The more you speak, the more confident you will become. Remember, you are not trying to be perfect. You are trying to get comfortable with English, to make it a normal part of your life. If you are not sure which phrases to use, start with the ones you hear most often in TV shows, movies, or songs. These are usually the phrases that native speakers use every day. You can also find lists of common phrases online or in English learning apps. Choose a few that you like and practice them until they feel easy. You can also make this habit more fun by practicing with a friend. Maybe you and a friend can choose a phrase of the day and both practice saying it out loud. You can send each other voice messages, or just practice together in person. Having someone to practice with can make it more enjoyable, and you can help each other improve. The most important thing is to start. Do not wait until you feel ready, or until you think your English is good enough. Start today with one simple phrase. Say it out loud, and then say it again. Each time you do, you are building your confidence, your skills, and your connection to the English language. Just like Anna in Paris, you do not need to be perfect. You just need to practice and to enjoy the process. Over time, you will see that speaking English out loud becomes easier, more natural, and even fun. One of the most powerful ways to make English a natural part of your life is to use it in your daily routines, even during the simplest tasks. I know that many people think they need a special time or place to practice English, like a classroom or a study session. But the truth is, you can practice English anywhere, anytime, just by using it in your everyday life. This is something that changed everything for me. And I want to share how you can do it too. Let me tell you about a time when I was living in Lisbon. My days were busy, and I didn't always have time to sit down and study English in a formal way, but I realized that I could use English while I was doing other things. For example, when I was cleaning my apartment, I would describe what I was doing in English. I would say things like, I am cleaning the table, I am washing the dishes, or I am making coffee. At first, it felt a little strange to talk to myself in English, but soon it became a habit. I started to notice that the more I did it, the easier it became to think in English, not just speak it. This simple practice helped me in so many ways. First, it made English feel less like a subject I had to study, and more like a tool I could use every day. Second, it helped me remember words and phrases, because I was using them in real situations, not just reading them in a book. Third, it gave me confidence, because I was practicing speaking without any pressure or fear of making mistakes. There was no one to judge me, so I could relax and just focus on using the language. You can do the same thing, no matter where you live or what your daily routine looks like. Try to describe your actions in English as you go through your day. When you wake up in the morning, you can say, I am getting out of bed, or I am brushing my teeth. When you are cooking, you can say, I am cutting vegetables, or I am boiling water. When you are getting ready to leave the house, you can say, I am putting on my shoes, or I am looking for my keys. These are simple sentences, but they are exactly the kinds of phrases you will use in real conversations. The more you practice this, the more natural it will feel. At first, you might have to think about the words, or you might forget how to say something. That's okay. If you don't know a word, you can look it up later, or just use a different word that you do know. The important thing is to keep going, to keep using English as much as possible. Over time, you will find that you start to think in English without even trying. This is a big step toward fluency. Another benefit of using English in your daily life is that it helps you learn the language in context. When you use words and phrases in real situations, you remember them better. You are not just memorizing vocabulary, you are connecting the words to actions and experiences. This makes the language more meaningful and easier to remember. For example, if you always say, I am making coffee every morning, that phrase will become automatic for you. You won't have to think about it. It will just come naturally. You can also use English to talk about your plans or your feelings during the day. For example, you can say, I am going to the store, or I am feeling tired today. You can talk about the weather. It is raining, or it is sunny. You can even use English to remind yourself of things you need to do. I need to buy milk, or I have to call my friend. These are all simple sentences, but they are very useful in everyday life. If you want to take this practice a step further, you can try to have short conversations with yourself in English. For example, you can ask yourself questions and answer them. What am I doing now? I am cleaning the kitchen. What will I do next? I will read a book. This helps you practice both asking and answering questions, which is a big part of real conversations. You don't have to do this all day long. Even a few minutes here and there can make a big difference. The key is to make English a regular part of your routine, so it becomes something you do naturally without thinking too much about it. The more you use English in your daily life, the more comfortable and confident you will become. I remember when I started doing this, I sometimes made mistakes or forgot words, but I didn't let that stop me. I just kept going, and over time I got better. I started to notice that I could think in English more easily, and that I didn't have to translate everything in my head. This made speaking and understanding English much easier, not just in my daily life, but also in conversations with other people. You can also use this habit to practice new words or phrases that you want to learn. If you learn a new word, try to use it in a sentence during your day. For example, if you learn the word vacuum, you can say, I am vacuuming the floor. If you learn the word laundry, you can say, I am doing the laundry. The more you use new words, the faster you will remember them. Making English a part of your daily life does not have to be difficult or stressful. It can be as simple as talking to yourself while you do the dishes, or describing what you see as you walk down the street. The important thing is to use English as much as possible, in as many situations as you can. This will help you build your skills, your confidence, and your connection to the language. Just like I did in Lisbon, you can make English a natural and easy part of your everyday life. One of the most surprising and effective habits I have discovered in my English learning journey is recording my own voice and listening to it afterward. I know this might sound a little strange or even uncomfortable at first. Many people, including myself, do not like the sound of their own voice when they hear it played back. It can feel awkward, and you might notice things about your pronunciation or your accent that you never realized before. But I want to tell you that this simple practice can make a huge difference in your progress and your confidence. Let me share the story of Julia, who lives in Berlin. Julia started learning English because she wanted to travel and connect with people from different countries. She was always a little shy about speaking, especially in front of others. One day, she decided to try something new. She took her phone, pressed the record button, and spoke for a few minutes about her day in English. She talked about what she did, how she felt, and what her plans were for the evening. At first, she felt nervous and self-conscious, but she finished the recording and listened to it later. When Julia listened to her recording, she noticed a few things. She realized that she was repeating the same words over and over. She heard herself hesitating in some places, searching for the right word. She also noticed that some of her sentences were not as clear as she wanted them to be. But instead of feeling discouraged, Julia saw this as an opportunity. She made a note of the words she wanted to use more, and she practiced saying the sentences that were difficult for her. The next day, she recorded herself again, and she tried to improve just a little bit. Over time, Julia became more comfortable with her own voice, and she started to see real progress in her speaking skills. I have had a similar experience. The first time I recorded myself speaking English, I was surprised by how different I sounded compared to how I thought I sounded in my head. I noticed that I spoke too quickly in some parts, and too slowly in others. Sometimes I mumbled or did not finish my sentences, but by listening to myself, I could hear exactly where I needed to improve. It was like having a mirror for my speaking skills. I could see my strengths and my weaknesses, and I could focus on making small changes that made a big difference. Recording your voice is a powerful tool because it gives you a chance to step back and listen to yourself as others might hear you. When you are speaking in real time, it is easy to miss your own mistakes or to forget what you wanted to say. But when you listen to a recording, you can take your time, pause, and really pay attention to the details. You can notice your pronunciation, your intonation, and the way you use different words and phrases. This helps you become more aware of your speaking habits and gives you a clear path to improvement. You do not need any special equipment to start this habit. Most smartphones have a voice recorder app, and you can use it anytime, anywhere. You can record yourself for just a minute or two, talking about your day, describing something you see, or even reading a short text out loud. The important thing is to make it a regular part of your practice. The more you do it, the more comfortable you will become, and the more progress you will see. One of the best things about recording your voice is that you can track your progress over time. If you save your recordings, you can listen to them weeks or months later and hear how much you have improved. You might notice that your pronunciation is clearer, your sentences are more natural, and your confidence has grown. This can be a great motivation to keep going, especially on days when you feel stuck or frustrated. Another benefit is that you can focus on specific areas you want to improve. For example, if you have trouble with certain sounds or words, you can practice them in your recordings and listen carefully to how you say them. You can also try different speaking styles, such as telling a story, giving your opinion, or describing a picture. Each type of speaking practice will help you develop different skills and become a more flexible and confident speaker. If you want to take this habit even further, you can share your recordings with a friend, a teacher, or a language partner. They can give you feedback and help you notice things you might have missed. But even if you keep your recordings private, you will still benefit from the practice and the self-reflection. I know that it can feel uncomfortable at first, but I encourage you to give it a try. Start with something simple. Record yourself saying a few sentences about your day, just like Julia in Berlin. Do not worry about making mistakes or sounding perfect. The goal is to practice, to listen, and to learn. Over time, you will become more comfortable with your own voice, and you will start to notice real improvements in your speaking skills. This habit has helped me become more aware of how I speak, and has given me the confidence to use English in real conversations. It is a simple, practical way to take control of your learning and to see your progress in a very real way. So take out your phone, press record, and start speaking. Listen to yourself, learn from your mistakes, and celebrate your progress. You will be amazed at how much you can improve just by listening to your own voice. One of the most practical and effective habits I have found for improving my English is practicing with quick questions and answers. This is something that has helped me become much more agile and confident when speaking. And I want to share how you can use this simple technique in your own daily routine. You do not need to memorize long lists of vocabulary or complicated sentences. Instead, you can train your mind and your mouth to respond quickly and naturally to everyday questions, just like you would in a real conversation. Let me tell you about Lucas, who lives in Barcelona. Lucas wanted to feel more comfortable speaking English, especially in situations where he needed to answer questions quickly, like in meetings at work or when talking to new people. He realized that he often hesitated, not because he did not know the words, but because he was not used to thinking and responding in English. So Lucas started a new habit. Every day, he would ask himself simple questions in English and answer them out loud. For example, he might ask, "What did I eat today?" And then answer, "I ate eggs and toast for breakfast." Or he might ask, "What is the weather like?" And answer, "It is sunny and warm today." By practicing these quick exchanges, Lucas trained his brain to think in English and to respond without translating from his native language. I have used this same technique, and I can tell you it really works. When you practice with quick questions and answers, you are preparing yourself for real conversations. In real life, people do not always speak slowly or give you time to think. They ask questions, and you need to respond. The more you practice this skill, the easier it becomes. You start to recognize common questions, and you get used to answering them without stress or hesitation. You can start with very simple questions. You can ask yourself, "How are you?" and answer, "I am fine, thank you." Or, "Where are you from?" and answer, I am from Lisbon. You can ask, what time is it? And answer, it is 3 o'clock. These are the kinds of questions you will hear all the time in real conversations. By practicing them, you make your responses automatic. You do not have to stop and think about every word. Your brain and your mouth start to work together, and your English becomes more natural. As you get more comfortable, you can make the questions a little more interesting or personal. For example, what did you do yesterday? I went to the park and read a book. Or, what are your plans for the weekend? I am going to visit my family. You can also practice questions about your opinions. What is your favorite food? I love pizza. Or, do you like watching movies? Yes. I enjoy watching comedies. The goal is clearly. One thing I like to do is set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes and challenge myself to answer as many questions as I can in that time. Sometimes I write the questions down on small pieces of paper and pick them at random. Other times I just think of questions as I go. If I get stuck, I do not worry. I just move on to the next question. The important thing is to keep speaking, to keep practicing, and to keep pushing yourself to respond quickly. You can also use this technique with a friend or a language partner. Take turns asking and answering questions. Try to keep the conversation moving quickly, just like in real life. If you make a mistake, do not stop. Just keep going. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. Another benefit of practicing with quick questions and answers is that it helps you learn new vocabulary and expressions in context. When you answer questions about your day, your plans, or your opinions, you use words and phrases that are relevant to your life. This makes it easier to remember them and to use them again in the future. You are not just memorizing words. You are using them in real situations. I remember when I first started this habit, I felt a little silly talking to myself, but I quickly realized how helpful it was. I started to notice that I could answer questions more easily in real conversations. I did not have to stop and think about every word. My answers came more naturally, and I felt more relaxed. This made speaking English much more enjoyable. You can also use this habit to practice different tenses and structures. For example, you can ask, what are you doing right now? And answer, I am practicing English. Or, what did you do last weekend? And answer, I visited a museum. Or, what will you do tomorrow? And answer, I will go shopping. By practicing different types of questions, you get comfortable with different ways of expressing yourself. If you want to make this habit even more effective, try recording your questions and answers. Listen to your recordings and notice if there are any words or phrases you want to improve. You can also write down your answers and look for patterns or mistakes. This will help you become more aware of your speaking habits and give you ideas for what to practice next. The most important thing is to make this a regular part of your practice. Even just a few minutes a day can make a big difference. The more you practice, the faster and more confident you will become. You do not need to memorize difficult sentences or worry about being perfect. Just focus on speaking quickly and clearly and enjoy the process. Like Lucas in Barcelona, you will find that practicing with quick questions and answers prepares you for real conversations and helps you become a more fluent and confident English speaker. One of the most important lessons I have learned on my journey to becoming fluent in English is that you should never be afraid of making mistakes than done. Many of us grow up thinking that mistakes are something to avoid, something to be ashamed of, or something that means we are not good enough. But when it comes to learning a language, mistakes are not only normal, they are necessary. They are a sign that you are trying, that you are pushing yourself, and that you are learning. I want to encourage you to let go of the fear of being wrong and to focus instead on being clear and communicating your ideas. Let me tell you about Maria, who lives in London. Maria moved to London a few years ago and started learning English so she could work and make friends in her new city. At first, She was very nervous about speaking. She worried that people would laugh at her accent or correct her grammar. She was afraid of saying the wrong thing and being misunderstood. But Maria made a decisión. She would try to express herself no matter what. She would speak up in meetings, talk to her neighbors, and ask questions in shops, even if she made mistakes. What she discovered surprised her. Most people did not care about her mistakes. They listened to her. They understood her. And they appreciated her effort. Sometimes, they even helped her find the right word or explain something she did not understand. Maria realized that the most important thing was not to be perfect, but to be clear. This is a lesson I have learned myself, and it has made a huge difference in my confidence and my progress. When I first started speaking English, I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted to use the right words, the right grammar, and the right pronunciation. But this made me nervous and slow. I spent so much time thinking about the rules that I forgot to enjoy the conversation. I missed opportunities to connect with people because I was too worried about making a mistake. Over time, I realized that communication is not about perfection. It is about sharing your ideas, your feelings, and your experiences. It is about making a connection with another person. When you focus on being clear instead of being perfect, you give yourself permission to speak more freely. You stop worrying about every little detail and start thinking about what you want to say. You use the words you know, even if they are simple. You use gestures, facial expressions, and even a little bit of humor to help get your message across. And you know what? Most of the time, people understand you. They do not care if your grammar is perfect or if your accent is strong. They care about what you are saying and how you are saying it. I remember a time when I was traveling and needed to ask for directions. My English was not perfect and I was nervous, but I tried anyway. I used simple words and short sentences. I pointed to my map and asked, "Where is this place?" The person I spoke to understood me right away and gave me the information I needed. I made mistakes, but it did not matter. What mattered was that I communicated clearly and got the help I needed. Maria in London had a similar experience. She told me that sometimes she would mix up words or use the wrong tense, but people still understood her. She learned to laugh at her mistakes and to see them as part of the learning process. She realized that every mistake was an opportunity to learn something new. If someone corrected her, she thanked them and tried to remember the right way for next time. If she did not know a word, she described what she meant using other words. This helped her become more creative and flexible in her communication. I want you to remember that everyone makes mistakes when they are learning a new language. Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes. The important thing is to keep going, to keep trying, and to keep communicating. Do not let the fear of being wrong stop you from speaking. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. And the more you focus on being clear, the easier it will be for others to understand you. One thing that has helped me is to set small goals for myself. For example, I might decide to have a short conversation with someone every day, even if I make mistakes. Or I might try to explain something new in English, even if I am not sure of all the words. Each time I do this, I get a little bit better. I learn new words. I get used to different accents, and I become more comfortable with the language. Another thing that helps is to remember that they know that learning a language is hard, and they respect you for trying. If you do not understand something, it is a mistake. It is again. The important thing is to keep the conversation going and to keep learning. You can also practice being clear by using simple sentences. Use the words you know and focus on making your meaning clear. If you are not sure how to say something, try to explain it in a different way. For example, if you do not know the word for umbrella, you can say, "the thing you use when it rains." People will understand you, and you will learn new ways to express yourself. I have found that the more worry about making mistakes, I start to enjoy speaking English even when I am not perfect. I feel proud of myself for trying, and I celebrate my progress. I know that every mistake is a step forward, not a step back. So do not be afraid to make mistakes. Focus on being clear, not perfect. Who learned that communication is about connection, not perfection. The more you practice, and the more you will enjoy, not something to fear. They are something you are learning and growing every day. Now it is your turn. I want you to take a moment and really think about everything we have talked about today. You have heard about the power of small daily habits, the importance of listening to English every day, the value of repeating simple phrases out loud, and how using English in your daily life can make a huge difference. We have talked about recording your voice, practicing with quick questions and answers, and focusing on clarity instead of perfection. All of these habits are simple, practical, and easy to start, even if you only have a few minutes each day. The real question is, which one will you choose to begin with? I want you to ask yourself right now, which habit feels the most natural or the most exciting for you? Maybe you feel inspired to start listening to a short podcast every morning, just like Marco in Rome. Maybe you want to try describing your daily activities in English, like I did when I was living in Lisbon. Or perhaps you are curious about recording your voice and listening back, even if it feels a little strange at first. It could be that you want to practice quick questions and answers. Or maybe you are ready to let go of the fear of making mistakes and focus on being clear when you speak. Whatever it is, I encourage you to pick one habit and start today. Remember, you do not need to do everything at once. The most important thing is to take that first step. Give yourself permission to start small. Just 15 minutes a day can make a real difference in your English. It is not about being perfect or doing everything perfectly. It is about showing up for yourself a little bit every day and making English a natural part of your life. Over time, you will see progress. You will feel more confident, more comfortable, and more connected to the language. I know that starting something new can feel a little scary. You might wonder if you will really improve or if you will be able to keep going. I want you to know that you are not alone. Everyone in this community is on the same journey. We all have days when we feel motivated, and days when we feel